What's Gucci everybody, it's AJ here again, and in this video we're going to be taking our concepts of the list in Python, which I did in the last video, and we're going to apply it to strings and learn some more advanced concepts on things you can do in a list, such as splitting and looking at smaller amounts of a list but not changing the list. So the first thing I'm going to start out with is I'm going to declare a string, and I'm going to call it this is a string. And something I want to show you, first of all, is that a string is iterable. And what do I mean by iterable is that you can go through a string just as you can go through a list. So I can use my for loop just as I did with a string. Just as I did with a list, just as I did with a string. So I can print out every character inside the string just like I would here. So I'm going to make a for loop. I'm going to say for x, any variable in a, my string, I'm going to print x. And what this is going to do is it's going to, since the string is iterable, it's going to go through every character like it's an element in a list. So it's going to loop through my whole string, and it's going to loop through every single character, and it's going to print it out. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to run this, and I get this is a string. And it goes off the screen, but you would see what I mean. But you see what I mean? It prints out every single character on a separate line, which is pretty gnarly. So that's a way of dealing with that. So I can treat that string, I can loop through a string just like I loop through a list. Another thing that's pretty cool is the way you can select lists. So let's say that I wanted to break up this string. I wanted to, for instance, it says this is a string, but I only want to, for instance, I want the last word in the string, or let's make it easier and let's do the first word in the string. So let's say I want to make a variable b, and I wanted to have the contents of the first word in the string. I wanted to have this for b. So what I would do is I would use something called, sorry, it looks brown there, it always seems kind of bad. I'm going to split the string up. And the way you can split the string up is use kind of array split notation, which is, it's exactly like the array notation where you put numbers in, but now we're going to learn you can put more than just one number in it. So let's say I wanted this. So as you can see, since we're going to treat the string like a list here, I'm gonna, you know, the string has indices just the same. The t is at 0, the h is at 1, the I is at 2, and the s is at 3, and it keeps going up as you see. So those are the indices. And so what I want to do here is I want to go from 0 to 4. And so what I'm doing here is I'm using this colon, which is very important, and I'm saying, hey, start at the 0th index and go up to, but not including the 4th index. And I'm going to print it out just to show you guys. So remember, I go up to, but not including the 4th index, and do it by 1. So I'm going to print this out. I'm going to run this program, and I get this. So if I run it, I get this. So I managed to capture my word. If I go from 0 to 3, what do you think is going to happen? I'm going to pause it, think about it, and I'm going to press play now. I get THI because, again, I went to the S, but it's not including the S, so I need to go one above it and go to the 0 to 4, which is pretty cool. So that's a way I can easily, I can easily capture something or a little part of a list, which is kind of nice. So let's say I want to do something else. And let's say, for instance, this is another way to capture the whole string. If I do 0, colon, and then don't put anything, it will go from the start position to the end of the string. So B will now be the same as A because I went from the 0th index, which is including, all the way to the end. And so that way I could put in 3, and then what would this do? Think about it. I'm going to run my program now. It started at 3, which is S, and then it went all the way to the end of the string, but it didn't include the T, H, or I. So that's something to think about. So there you go. And also, if I do this, I go from, the start of the string to 10. So I go from 0, so I don't even have to say it, and I go to the 10th character, which is S, but it doesn't include S, so it's, it goes to the first 10 characters, not including S. So that's pretty cool. But what if, let's say, I get the first 10 characters here, but I only want I don't want the first 10 characters going up by 1. It's kind of hard to think of a scenario where you would need this, but Python provides a way to do it. So, for instance, instead of going up by 1 every time, going up by 1 index, because that's what I am doing, I'm going up by 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4, I go up by 2, or I go up by 3. So what this will do is it will start at, if I can put another colon, which specifies the incrementer. The first number you give it is the starting position, the second colon, and then the second number is the ending position, and then colon, and the second number, and the third number is the increment position, just like the for loop, the range condition. And so what this does is it increments by 2 every time. So what it does is it starts at 0, which is t, then it goes increments, so then it goes to 2, which is I, then it goes again, which is space, it goes up to, and then it goes 2 again, which is s, it goes 2 again, which is a. So that way I can increment like that, which is pretty cool. Something I also can do is I can go from 10 to 2. I can switch it. I can start at 10 and go from 10 to 0, and instead I will get a negative. I can go backwards, so I can reverse my string. So if I wanted to really do that, what I could do is I could do something like this. If I wanted to, I could do something like this, which I'll show you guys in a second. I will say, what I did here is I reversed my string. And what I did is I gave it -1 as an incrementer, so it goes backwards, but also another functionality about the list splitting is that I can put in negatives in my start and ending positions. And what this does is something pretty gnarly. So as you can see here, I've got all my indexes, and then I've got 10, 11, 12, and I won't have space for those to be nice. But what if you had a huge string and you didn't want to count all those index spaces for that string? I want to get to that string, but I don't want to count that it starts at 10. So what I can do is I can say -1. And what -1 does is it starts at the very it goes backwards. So it will start here and then it will go all the way back, it will go backwards and it will hit that G. So -1 is that G. So I'm saying, hey, start at that G and then keep going down -1. So N, I, R, T, S space A. So what I'm doing is I reverse my string, which is pretty cool. So I start at the -1 position, which takes me back, and if I start -2, that's going to start me at the end. So I'm going to get rid of that G here. And as you can see, that G did not come on. And so I was able to reverse my string because I started at this N and the ends, and then it gave me the I, and it gave me the R and the T and the S, which is pretty cool. So just so you guys know, I can have negative incrementers. I can also have negative or positive other operations. So in this case, I changed it up, so now I have a positive one. I started at -2, which is N, and I went to the end because I didn't specify, I put 2 colons, but I didn't specify an ending state. So it just went to the end for me automatically, and I went from N to G, and then I stopped. So it's just the NG of string, which is pretty cool. So as you can see here, I was able to split my list pretty cleverly. I can go backwards, I can go forwards, and I can increment by in different ways. So if I do 2 here, it will just print out N because it'll go N, and then it will skip to the end. And I can make this 100 or 200 or any number I desire, even though that may not seem as applicable. But splitting lists is pretty cool, and something you can commonly use it for is maybe to get the first part of a string, maybe get the first character, which would be just 0 to 1. And so that would give me the T right here. So then maybe I know I can check if a sentence is capitalized or something of that sort. But that's all I've got for you today, guys. I hope this video wasn't too long. Socialize if you guys like. It's very good for everyone to socialize and build a community. And I hope you guys have a great day.